Welcome to our deep dive into car buying in Ontario. We're going to use OMVIC's Car Buying Guide 2024 along with some stuff from their complaints process document so we can, equip you to navigate this whole process and to do it with confidence, right? But here's the thing, and this might come as a shock to some people. In Ontario, there is no cooling off period. That's right. Once you sign that contract, you are committed. Unless, of course, the dealer failed to disclose some pretty key information. Got your attention now, don't I? Let's dive right in.
Yeah, that no cooling off period is a big one. It makes knowing your rights super important. And that's where ONGIC comes in, the Ontario Motor Vehicle Industry Council. They're like the watchdogs, making sure dealers play by the rules and that consumers like us are protected.
They protect us from those sneaky dealers.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know what's wild? Every single dealer and salesperson in Ontario has to be registered with OMVIC. It's not a suggestion, it's the law. But why should we care?
Because buying from an ONVIC registered dealer is kind of like having a safety net. You know what I mean? Like it gives you access to legal protections and things like the Motor Vehicle Dealers Compensation Fund. That's the MVDCF. So imagine this. You buy a used car. A few months later, boom, you discover it has this whole hidden history of like major accidents that the dealer just conveniently forgot to mention.
Oh, no.
Yeah, not good. But in that kind of situation, the MVDCF could actually help you get some financial reimbursement.
Wow, so it's like a lifesaver. OMVIC is my car buying guardian angel.
Exactly. And on top of that, they've got this rule book, the Motor Vehicle Dealers Act, the MVDA, and it basically sets the standards for fairness and transparency in the industry, like no more shady deals or hidden fees. It's all about making sure everyone plays fair.
Okay, well, I'm feeling a bit more confident already, but before I even think about stepping onto a car lot, what kind of homework should I be doing?
The best place to start is OMVIC's website, omavix.ca. Like a treasure trove of resources and tips. But even before you get lost in all that, take a hard look at your budget. You have to factor in everything. It's not just about the sticker price. You've got maintenance, insurance, fuel. All those costs can really add up. And don't let those long loan terms fool you. They might seem appealing at first, but they can actually lead to what's called negative equity. And that can be a real headache down the road.
Negative equity? What's that?
So it's kind of similar to being underwater on a mortgage. Let's say you finance a car for like 7 or 8 years, right? As that car gets older, obviously it depreciates in value. And if you end up owing more on the loan than the car is actually worth, then bam, you're in negative equity. ONVIC gives this example of Farah, who financed a car 4 years ago. And because of depreciation and the high mileage, she now owes way more than her car is worth. And that's a huge problem if she wants to trade it in or sell it.
That sounds like a nightmare. So before I even think about trading in my current car, I need to figure out what it's actually worth.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, my friend.
Yeah.
Especially when you're at the dealership trying to negotiate a deal.
Yay.
And speaking of dealerships, let's talk about how pricing works in Ontario, because we've got some good news for you there.
Okay, lay it on me.
So you remember that MVDA, OMVIC's rulebook? Well, it mandates something called all-in price advertising, which basically means the price you see advertised has to include all fees and charges. The only things not included are HST and licensing, and those have to be clearly stated separately.
So no more getting to the dealership and being slammed with a bunch of surprise fees.
Exactly.
I can actually trust the price I see in the ad.
You got it. Freight, PDI,
Yeah.
admin fees, government levies, even the OMVIC itself. It all has to be included in that advertised price.
Imagine seeing this amazing deal, and then you get to the dealership and they tack on all these extra fees.
Oh, I know. That would be infuriating.
That's terrible.
But thanks to OMVIC, those days are over.
Hallelujah. So I can breathe easy knowing that the price I see is actually the price I'll pay?
Yep, plus HST and licensing, of course.
Right, of course. So that's what I call transparency. But what about the condition of the car itself? How can I be sure I'm not buying a lemon?
That's where those mandatory disclosures come in. Dealers in Ontario are legally required to make 22 specific disclosures. And these disclosures cover the vehicle's past, its condition, and its history.
22 disclosures? That seems like a lot to keep track of.
They are. But they're all there for a reason, to protect you, the buyer. Some of them are pretty standard, like revealing if the car was a rental. But others are real eye-openers.
Like what?
Did you know they have to disclose if a car was previously used as a taxi or a police car?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, those vehicles see a lot of action, which can definitely affect their reliability down the line. And here's one that might really surprise you. They also have to disclose if the odometer has been tampered with.
So no rolling back the miles to make a car seem newer than it is?
Nope, not Ontario. If the dealer knows about it, they have to tell you. And speaking of things they have to tell you, remember that whole no cooling off period we talked about earlier?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there are actually a few exceptions to that rule.
Okay, now we're talking. Tell me more.
If the dealer fails to disclose any of those 22 mandatory things, you actually have 90 days to cancel the contract.
Wow, seriously?
Yeah, so if they try to hide something shady about the car's past, you have a way out.
So those 22 disclosures aren't just a formality. They're my ticket to freedom if the dealer tries to pull a fast one.
Exactly.
I'm definitely going to study up on those before I head to a dealership.
Good idea. Knowledge is power, remember?
Yeah,
And in this case, it could save you a lot of hassle and heartache.
absolutely. Now, what if I'm thinking about skipping the dealership altogether and buying privately?
Buying privately. It can be tempting. Who doesn't love a good deal, right?
You're right.
But here's the catch. You're on your own. No OMVIC protection, no compensation fund, no safety net. You're responsible for doing your due diligence and making sure everything is legit.
Okay, so due diligence 101. What's the most important thing to remember?
Don't be shy about asking questions. Ask about the car's history, accidents, repairs, maintenance records, anything and everything you can think of.
Mm-hmm.
And insist on a thorough test drive, not just a quick spin around the block.
Okay, so when buying privately, I gotta channel my inner detective, I guess.
Exactly.
What else can I do to protect myself?
Verification is key, right? So you want to make absolutely sure that the seller's ID matches the ownership documents perfectly. No discrepancies.
Okay.
And don't even think about skipping those vehicle history reports. Get a UBIP, get a Carfax report. You want to check for accidents, lesions, anything fishy.
So it's like a background check, but for a car.
Exactly. And just like when buying from a dealer,
Yeah,
get that car inspected by a trusted mechanic before you hand over any money.
got it.
It's worth the peace of mind.
For sure, for sure. Any other red flags I should watch out for when buying privately?
Yeah, be wary of anyone who seems reluctant to give you information, or if they're really pushy, like trying to rush the sale. Just trust your gut. If something feels off, walk away.
Okay, good advice. So let's get back to the dealership world for a sec. We were talking about those 22 mandatory disclosures. Can we unpack a few more of those? Like, what kind of secrets are these cars hiding?
Sure. So these disclosures are all about giving you the full picture.
Yeah.
Right? For example, they have to tell you if the car has what's called a branded title.
Branded title? That sounds serious.
Yeah, it is. Basically, it means the car has been written off by an insurance company because of some pretty significant damage.
Hmm.
It could be labeled as like irreparable salvage or rebuilt.
So it's been through the ringer?
Yeah, basically.
So even if a car has been, like, resurrected from the automotive graveyard, I still have the right to know about its past life?
Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's not just accidents they have to disclose. Imagine this. You buy a used car. A few weeks later, you find out it was used as a taxi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of wear and tear. And that's why it's a mandatory disclosure. Same goes for police cars, emergency vehicles. Those things often rack up a ton of mileage. And they could have some hidden damage that you don't even know about.
Mm-hmm.
They also have to disclose any structural damage, like frame damage, for example, which can obviously be a huge safety concern.
Okay, so no sweeping any major issues under the rug.
Nope.
What about smaller things, like mechanical issues?
Oh, they got to fess up about those too.
Yeah.
Anything that could affect the car's drivability or reliability. Engine problems, transmission issues,
Yeah.
electrical system glitches, you name it.
Okay.
And here's another interesting one. They have to disclose if the car has ever been reported stolen.
Whoa, seriously?
Yep.
So I could unknowingly be buying a hot car.
Well, not if the dealer's following the rules.
Yeah.
And get this, they even have to tell you if the car's badge doesn't actually match the model.
Wait, what? Why would a car have the wrong badge?
Sometimes, shady sellers try to pass off a lower-end model as a higher-end one, just by swapping out the badges. It's a way to trick buyers into paying more than they should.
Wow, so OMVIC is protecting me from badge swapping scammers.
That's right. And remember, if the dealer fails to disclose any of this stuff, you've got 90 days to cancel that contract.
Wow, okay. Those 22 disclosures are really important.
They are.
So let's shift gears for a bit and talk about all-in pricing again. You mentioned earlier that this is a big win for consumers. Can you break that down for me a little bit more?
Sure. So basically, in Ontario, the law states that the advertised price of a vehicle has to include all fees and charges that the dealer intends to collect. The only things not included are HST and licensing, and those have to be clearly stated.
Okay, so when I see an ad for a car with a specific price, That's pretty much what I should expect to pay at the dealership.
Exactly. No more hidden fees for things like freight or pre-delivery inspection, or even those pesky administration fees. All those costs have to be factored into the advertised price.
Okay, so what exactly are some of these fees that must be included?
Well, you've got things like freight, which is the cost of getting the car from the factory to the dealership. Then there's PDI, pre-delivery inspection, which covers the cost of prepping the car for sale, like inspecting it, cleaning it, topping up the fluids, that kind of stuff. And then, of course, there are the administration fees, which basically cover the dealer's overhead costs.
Right, so all those fees are built into the advertised price. What about those government levies that I hear so much about? Do those have to be included too?
Absolutely. Government levies like air tax and the Ontario Green Levy, even the luxury tax if it applies, they all have to be part of the advertised price.
Mhm.
And even the OMVIC transaction fee, which helps fund their consumer protection programs. That's included too.
So when I see that advertised price, I can be confident that there won't be any sticker shock at the dealership.
That's the beauty of all-in pricing. You know exactly what you're paying for upfront. And to make things even clearer, the dealer has to actually itemize all those fees on the bill of sale so you can see where your money is going.
Wow, OMVIC really has our backs on this one.
They do.
Now, what about those fancy ads you see from car manufacturers? Do they have to follow these same rules?
That's a great question. It's important to remember that OMVIC only regulates dealerships, not manufacturers. So those flashy manufacturer ads you see on TV or online, they're not bound by those MVDA all-in pricing rules.
Ah, so there's a bit of a loophole there.
You could say that, but when you're dealing with a registered dealer in Ontario, you can rest assured that you're protected by that all-in pricing law. No surprises, just transparency.
Okay, so we've covered mandatory disclosures, all-in pricing. It's like OMVSE has built this fortress of protection around car buyers in Ontario.
That's a good way to put it.
But what happens if a problem does arise, even with all these safeguards in place? Is there a way to fight back?
Absolutely. OMVIC has a really comprehensive complaints process, and it's there to help consumers resolve issues with registered dealers.
Okay, let's say I've encountered a problem, and I haven't been able to work things out directly with the dealer. What's my first step?
Your first step is to contact OMVIC's Complaints and Inquiries Department. They're like the detectives of the car buying world, ready to investigate your case and help you navigate the process. You can reach out to them by phone or email, and they'll guide you from there.
So what happens after I file a complaint? Do they send a SWAT team to the dealership?
Not quite, haha. But they do take your complaint seriously. First, they'll assess it to make sure it falls under their jurisdiction. Remember, OMVIC only deals with complaints against registered dealers and salespeople. They can't help you with issues involving private sellers or repair shops or manufacturers.
Got it. So let's say my complaint does involve an OMVIC registered dealer.
Okay, then they'll assign your case to an inquiry representative. They'll gather some information about the situation and provide guidance on how to proceed. Often, they'll encourage you to try and resolve the issue directly with the dealer one last time. This usually involves sending a formal letter outlining your concerns and the desired resolution.
So it's like giving the dealer a chance to make things right before things escalate.
Exactly. And it's important to send that letter via registered mail so you have proof of delivery.
Right.
Now, if the dealer ignores your letter or just refuses to cooperate, then things move to the next level. Further review.
Further review sounds intense.
It can be. So your complaint then gets assigned to a resolution support specialist or an RSS. Think of them as your advocate within OMVIC. They'll review all the documentation you've provided, like your bill of sale, any correspondence with the dealer, vehicle history reports, anything that supports your claim.
So it's like building a case file.
Exactly. The more evidence you have, the stronger your case will be. If the RSS believes there's a potential violation of the MVDA, they'll move your complaint into the formal complaint stage.
Okay.
This means you'll be asked to sign an official form, just acknowledging your agreement to proceed.
All right, things are getting serious now. What happens after I sign that form?
Well, the RSS will formally request a response from the dealer regarding your complaint. At this point, the dealer can't just ignore you. They have to write a formal written response to OMVIC, addressing your allegations.
Okay, so the dealer have to actually respond. What if they deny everything? What happens then?
Well, the resolution support specialist, they review the dealer's response along with all the other evidence. They might contact both you and the dealer, just to get more information or clarify some things. It's really about getting a clear picture of what actually happened.
So it's like a real investigation. What happens if the RSS thinks the dealer actually did something wrong?
Then things get even more serious. The complaint moves to what's called the final action stage, and this is where OMVIC's power really comes into play.
Okay, tell me more. What can OMVIC actually do to a dealer who's broken the rules?
So even if you and the dealer have somehow come to like an agreement during the investigation, the complaint doesn't just disappear. Every single formal complaint goes to what's called the registrar for review.
The registrar.
Yeah.
Is that like the ultimate judge of car buying disputes?
You could say that. The registrar is basically the top dog at OMVIC, and they have the final say on how a complaint is handled. They can do a few different things. They can try to mediate the complaint. They can issue a warning to the dealer. They can make the dealer or the salesperson take more training courses. Or they can even refer the case to the discipline tribunal.
Discipline tribunal. That sounds kind of scary.
Yeah, it can be. This tribunal is an independent body, and they have the power to actually punish dealers who break the MVDA. We're talking like reprimands, fines, suspending their registration, even taking away their license completely.
Wow, so OMVIC doesn't mess around.
Yep.
So let's say my case goes to this discipline tribunal. What happens then?
They hold a hearing, and they determine if the dealer actually violated the MVDA. It's kind of like a mini trial, where you might have to testify and present your evidence. The dealer gets to tell their side of the story too, of course.
So it's like a real legal battle.
Pretty much.
And then the discipline tribunal decides if the dealer is guilty or not.
Yep. And if they find the dealer guilty, they get to decide on the punishment.
Okay, so that makes sense. OMVIC has this whole system to handle complaints. But what if, even after all that, I'm still not satisfied? What if I feel like I haven't gotten justice?
You always have the option of taking the matter to civil court.
So I could sue the dealer?
You could, but that's a whole separate process, completely independent of OMVIC's complaint process. You'd need to hire a lawyer and file a lawsuit. It could be a pretty long and complicated journey.
Right, so that's like the nuclear option. Hopefully it never comes to that. It's amazing how much I've learned about buying a car in Ontario just from this conversation. I feel so much more equipped to handle whatever comes my way.
That's what we're here for. Buying a car can be overwhelming, but knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
Do your research, know your rights, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
And remember, OMVIC is an amazing resource for car buyers. They've got tons of information on their website and a whole team of experts ready to help if things go wrong.
For sure. They've really leveled the playing field, giving consumers the tools they need to navigate this whole process with confidence.
Okay, well, now that we've covered all the serious stuff, let's have some fun. What are you looking for in your next car? Sporty and sleek, rugged and adventurous, fuel-efficient and eco-friendly.
Good question. Whatever your dream car may be, just remember all the tips and insights we've talked about today. Approach the process with knowledge and confidence, and you'll be driving off into the sunset in your perfect vehicle in no time.
And most importantly, enjoy the ride. This has been The Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well-informed. Until next time, happy and informed driving everyone.